Let me tell you about the most mysterious man I ever met. I don't know his name, and I never saw him again after that week, but what he did changed everything for my neighborhood. If you have time, listen, because this story isn't just about water. It's about how one person can make a difference without asking for anything in return. It started on a sweltering morning in Nairobi, where I grew up. Water was always a struggle. In our part of the city, the taps had been dry for months. If you wanted water, you had two options: wake up at dawn to join a queue at the broken community tap, or pay vendors who charged ridiculous prices for water they carried in carts. Most of us couldn't afford the second option. That morning, like every other, I grabbed my yellow jerry can and trudged to the long line at the community tap. Everyone in the line was tired and grumpy, as usual. People murmured about how long it was taking, about the heat, about how unfair life was. And then I saw him. He wasn't from our neighborhood, that much was obvious. He was dressed simply, jeans and a white t-shirt, but he didn't look lost. He stood near the broken tap, watching it like he was trying to figure out a secret. At first, I thought he was just another government worker sent to inspect the problem but never fix it. You know how it is. But then he started asking questions. "Is this the only tap in this area?" he asked. His voice was calm but direct, and it caught people's attention. "Yes," a woman at the front of the line replied, "and it hasn't worked for months." "Where do you get water when it doesn't work?" he asked. "From vendors," someone else said. "If you have money, if you don't." The man didn't need to hear the rest. He nodded slowly, like he was putting pieces of a puzzle together. Then, without any fanfare, he said, "I'll fix this." The line went silent. People stared at him like he'd just said he could make it rain. "Fix it?" an old man scoffed. "You're just another one of those talkers. You'll promise us the world and disappear tomorrow." The man didn't argue. He just smiled, tipped his cap, and walked away. The next morning he came back, but this time he wasn't alone. He had a truck, a team of workers, and a pile of tools and pipes. I remember standing on the roadside with my jerry can, watching as they unloaded everything. "What's going on?" I whispered to my friend Kamau, who was watching with me. "Looks like he's serious," Kamau said, eyes wide. The man didn't waste time. He and his team started digging around the broken tap. He didn't stand back and give orders. He worked alongside his team, digging into the hard, dry earth under the blazing sun. For the first few hours, no one believed anything would come of it. People stood around, muttering that it was all a show. But as the day turned into evening, something changed. The workers laid down new pipes, replaced old parts, and cleared out blockages in the line. By the second day, word had spread across the neighborhood. People gathered to watch, and some even started helping. The man didn't talk much. He just worked, pausing occasionally to check the progress and give instructions. "What's his deal?" Kamau asked me on the second day. "I don't know," I said, "but he's actually doing something." On the fourth day, everything was ready. The man called the neighborhood to gather around the tap. By then, everyone knew about him, but no one knew who he was. People whispered about whether he was from the government, a charity, or maybe just a crazy rich guy. He stood by the tap, wiping sweat from his face, and said, "This tap is fixed, but that's not all." He pointed to 3 other spots in the neighborhood where new taps had been installed. "Now you'll have water closer to your homes. No more long lines. No more waiting." He turned the tap, and clean, clear water gushed out. There was a moment of silence, like no one could believe it was real. Then the cheering started. People clapped, danced, laughed, and even cried. I saw my neighbor, an old woman who rarely smiled, lift her hands in the air and shout, "God bless you, whoever you are." The man didn't stay to bask in the praise. He didn't ask for money or recognition. The next morning, he was gone. When people asked why he did it, no one had an answer. Someone said they overheard him telling one of the workers, "If you can help, you should." That's all. Years later, the taps he installed are still working. Every time I fill my jerry can, I think about him, the man who came out of nowhere, asked the right questions, and left us with more than just water. Lesson of the day. Sometimes real change doesn't come with big speeches or grand promises, and you don't need to be famous or powerful to make a difference. You just need to care enough to do something. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you on the next one.